Welcome back, Bambinos. Did you miss me? Of course you did. I was going to add the stuff about Blender to the next video, which is almost ready to be released, but then it felt like it should be its own story. So this video is going to be about using Blender, or how I use it, and like you, I haven't got a clue how to use it, but it's a valuable tool and has helped me out many times with ComfyUI ControlNet creation. Not the next video, but the one after will be about FFLF, which is first frame, last frame, and I am very excited to drop that one on you because I just hit 720p with it. Yes, never before done on my good old 3060 card, and it did it in under 30 minutes. But before that, I will do Dialogue Part 2, which I promised some time back. I've just finished researching. But today, I will drop on you the Blender tricks I tried and mostly threw out, to be honest, but it has some value to share. Then I thought, hang on. I bet some people will be interested in using Blender to make ControlNet videos. So let me show you how I do that and how I don't. I am not an expert on Blender, and since you probably aren't either, let me show you how I address that issue. First, I saw some guy doing drawings using something called Grease Pencil in Blender to make motion for Uni 3C to follow. How hard could that be, I thought? I soon found out. So the first thing I did was find a quick tutorial on Grease Pencil in Blender, and this is it. I will let it run so you can check it out for yourself. I'll let you know now that I dropped this idea later, but if it interests you, then here it is. The idea is that you draw the 3D shape like you saw back in the previous shot if you weren't just looking at that woman's ridiculous cleavage. What is it about the young men in this AI scene that they obsess so much on women? But let's get into that right here. Let's consider this video which shows you how to use Grease Pencil. I'll let it run and shut up. This came from blendersecrets.org, by the way. Only right to give them credit for it. Let's go off into additional stuff now, but back to my situation. I was planning to use the same scene you will recall from previous videos. I am indeed getting bored of this scene, but that isn't the point. I have only the 2D image, which is the start frame for a quick dialogue sketch using one camera angle of many, but will do nicely for our example for a couple of reasons. One, it starts with him looking in the wrong direction, and so I have to get him to turn his head to look at the guys on the right. Two, this can cause problems like losing consistency, and it is one of the challenges I address later. So that's all well and good having a 2D image, but how do I draw like this purple line stuff in Blender? Well, let's assume it's the Grease Pencil, and we just watched that tutorial, so hang on. How do I load a 2D image into Blender to serve as a reference image? Okay, time for another quick tutorial, and I promise to shut up for this one. It's only short, and this one came from a YouTube channel called Tech Mood. Clear as mud, right? Well, I'll show you some of my progress with that, and then how it can be incorporated with ComfyUI. And that might be something you want to play around with yourself, because it doesn't have to take a lot of work or tutorials if you apply the tricks I do. So as you can see, I followed that tutorial and imported my reference image into Blender. Then I tried to apply the Grease Pencil, but I kind of didn't get it. So this is trick one. Ask Copilot. Ask it everything. It's a really handy way not to have to do more than the basic tutorials to get underway. As you can see, I had to ask Copilot a lot of things, but with Windows 10, the little fella, I assume it's a fella, is sat on my taskbar and kind of handy. But you do have to be a bit firm with him. The thing you learn about AI is that it loves to be confidently wrong. And it got stuff wrong, but the moment you tell it that, it apologizes and gives you the correct information. I swear the machines are laughing at us. But back to the point, and after my 50-second tutorial and co-piloted assistance, as you can see, I was now an expert in Grease Pencil.
I realised this was going to take a lot longer than I wanted, so I sat back and considered my approach. I was trying to prepare a ControlNet for Uni 3C. That was the plan. And if you have tried Uni 3C, you might already spot the error I am making, but I will save that for the next video since this one is about Blender.
So what was I trying to do? I was trying to take this shot and get him to move his head so he would be facing the guys as he spoke. Well, of course I could just run it through my Face workflow and adapt a quick pose and do this, but that felt too easy. There would be times during my project where I just had to fix a problem by getting a guy to turn his head using control nets. So that was all I was trying to do here. How hard can it be? Well, pondering this mystery, I went back through old methods, and one that always worked well for me was the old Hun-1 3D trick. It was fast, it was dirty, and I liked it. So I took my 2D image, rammed it through Hun-1 3D workflow, I will share it in the link, and produced this dodgy 3D GLB model that I could then import straight to Blender. I did that and overlaid it over my 2D image in Blender and began to stretch it to fit. Surprisingly easy, using the X, Y, and Z axis view to stretch it out until it looked right to me. Only needed to be close enough because let's think about what we are doing this for. We are going to use this 2D image as a reference to drive audio into lip sync in an Infinite Talk workflow and use Uni3C to drive the motion. Again, I know anyone who knows it will be wincing at the error, thinking that will work in Uni3C, but ignore that for now. This is about Blender. I then thought about how I could make the head move, and that seemed like the easy part. I just had to remove his head. So I did. Again, asking Copilot how to do that. As I worked, it was really handy having that little helper in a corner of the screen, one click away the whole time. I removed everything but the head, then loaded another model in and removed the head from that one. That meant I had a solid model and one I could swivel. And all the weirdness around the neck didn't matter because I was already familiar with how OpenPose worked, and since that was what I was aiming to end up with, tidy modeling was not the priority here. Time and energy, remember that? I do bang on about them a lot, so you should. In fact, talking of time and energy, I even now have a formula for this. Everything in this game is time plus energy VRS quality. That is the formula we are working to at all times. You may have seen the slogan on my website. Time is the enemy, quality is the battleground. Sacrifices must be made. But I digress. And guess what happened when I took my wonderful model into the workflow to use it as a control net with Uni3C and Infinite Talk?
I was just saying, I mean, the 60s was a different time.
Yes, I had made a grand error regarding Uni3C, which doesn't use OpenPose, because Uni3C is more about camera motion. Hey-ho. Not to be deterred, I then tried it with UniAnimate and got this.
Didn't he set that other bird off that time?
But that is enough for today, and the Infinite Talk stuff will be the subject of my next video. Maybe tomorrow. I hope this gives you some inspiration to look into Blender. It is a useful tool, and I will talk about it further whenever I see reason to make use of it. As always, time and energy are the concern, and we balance that against the quality we are trying to achieve. I've said it before, and I will say it again. In the end, life will be nothing but a prompt, and all these things we do will become obsolete. At least until the electricity goes off. Ciao for now, Bambinos.